But, Doc, you were in Parliament yesterday.
Yes.
I mean, when I watched the vetting of the 7 judges,
Yeah.
I didn't get the impression that the minority had any concerns with the judges who were being vetted.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was a smooth process.
Yeah.
Very critical, relevant questions were asked.
Yeah.
And generally, the public thinks that the Appointment Committee of Parliament had... It's, I think, Appointment and Confirmation, or is this Appointment Committee?
Appointment Committee. They bring it to Parliament for us to confirm, to approve.
Oh, so it's just appointment. There's no confirmation.
No,
I thought
no.
it was appointment and confirmation.
No, we just approve the president nomination.
Yes.
After the vetting has been done by the appointment committee,
okay.
We approve what the work they have done.
Right.
It goes to president for him to give the appointment and confirm.
Okay. So the Appointment Committee of Parliament, right? So we thought that generally was a good job. People were praising them and so on.
Right.
Never mind the back and forth sometimes that happens between Ahiyagbo
and Afenyo
and Alexander Afenyo-Markin. We're now used to it,
yeah,
so
right.
we don't find anything wrong with that. But yesterday we're told there was a very heated debate in Parliament over the approval of the judges, and the minority, to the extent, in fact, the minority even decided to boycott it and said they don't want anything to. They want to have anything to do with the how do you call it, with the approval of the judges.
Yes.
Now, I think I saw the story in one of the papers. I've been wanting to, for some reason, it's just escaped me. But whilst I am looking for that story, walk us through exactly what were the concerns of the minority, for which reason they did not want to be part of the approval of the 7 judges yesterday. What exactly were their concerns?
Yeah, the concern of the minority was simple. 2 things.
Yeah.
The first one was that they brought it as a certificate of urgency. When the vetting took place and they lay the reports in the House.
Okay, so before you go ahead, let me just read this quickly. Let me just do this quickly. So if you look at today's Daily Post, it says that the Parliament approved 7 justices to the Supreme Court. Now, Parliament has approved all 7 appeal court judges nominated to the Supreme Court. The House approved the justices on Tuesday, June 24, 2025. After the 15th report of the Appointment Committee was adopted, the approved justices include Justice Dennis Dominic Ejay, Justice Gail Simon Subare.
Yeah, Subare.
Okay. Justice Senjamepe, Justice Kwekutewia Akabuafu, and Justice Philip Bright Mensah. The rest are Justice Janapari Battles Kojo, and Justice Hafisatu Ameloboba. Chairman of the committee, Bernard Ahiafo, while reading the report before the House, said all MEP members on the committee voted against the approval of all the 7 nominees, but the majority members voted in favor of the nominees. The members of the National Democratic Congress, the majority, however, voted in favor of all the nominees. The committee therefore recommends to the House by a majority decision the adoption of this report and the approval of all 7 justices. This brings the number of Supreme Court justices to 20. According to the chairman of the committee, by recommendation, all the nominees possess the requisite qualification, judicial commitment to constitutional values expected of justices of the Supreme Court. Upon careful deliberation, the committee knows that all the nominees demonstrated outstanding competence, deep knowledge of the law, and firm ground of judicial ethics. They addressed questions posed by the committee with professionalism, clarity, and intellectual rigor, reflecting their capacity to uphold the integrity, independence, and dignity of the highest court of the land. I have said on the floor of the House before the report was adopted, and the minority leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin attempted to block the laying and consideration of the report of the Appointment Committee of the President's nominations for appointment as justices of the Supreme Court. Mr. Speaker, don't be inclined into granting the request by the majority leader for the report to be considered. We need to thoroughly read the report. However, the Speaker ruled that the motion be adopted in accordance with the standing orders of the House. The vetting of all 7 nominees began on Monday, June 16, and ended on Friday, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. So that's how today's Daily Post reported it.
Right.
Yeah, so what exactly happened from how you saw it?
When a report is brought to Parliament, it's late, it is given 2 days for it to be perused.
Okay.
And then for members to decide by voting. It can also be brought under certificate of urgency. It can be laid that day and moved that day and voted for that day. You've already heard what they did at the committee level.
Okay.
That all NPP members voted, were not in favor of them being passed, despite the fact that they eulogized the judges during the debate. All the judges, they had no problem with any of them. Their only problem was that they were bringing it under certificate of urgency.
Okay.
This is the case at the committee level. You had already opposed their approval.
Yeah.
What would be the reason for us to wait for you to decide when we should approve them? So we decided, NDC decided that, okay, if you have already washed your hands by saying that we shouldn't approve them, then in the plenary, definitely you are going to say you don't want them. So the party decided, our caucus decided that let's give them the approval to go and do the work. One important thing you should notice is that they argued that they brought into 5 nominees in the last parliament, and it was not, they were not approved. They couldn't bring them for approval. But it was so, they were so, the majority leader demonstrated to us that that was not the case. They had 2 people they vetted, and they ended up that they should bring them to the plenary for them to vote on them. And they themselves shelved the report. They didn't present it to the floor for it to be voted upon. So it doesn't mean that NDC members rejected those 2 judges.
And no, interestingly, there were 2 of those judges you're talking about who were vetted before the elections.
Yes.
2 of them, I think Justice Saribochi or something, and Justice, what's the name? Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 2 of them were there.
Yeah.
And I thought it was beautiful.
Yes.
Because you'd have thought that they would have felt, you know, how do you call it? They would have felt hurt that they didn't get to be approved.
Yeah.
And then there's another crop of people, and so they would probably just wash their hands off. But they were there.
They were there.
You know, and I thought it was
their objection was because NDC did not approve the previous nominees, which wasn't the case because you didn't bring it to the floor.
Okay.
The issue is that if you go to the committee level and then you take a decision and the majority vote that they should do something, it is binding. Whether the opposition agrees or not, it is a majority decision. If it is that they should bring it to plenary for plenary to decide finally whether they should be approved or not, you cannot say that they shouldn't bring it to plenary. If you fail to do that the previous sitting, the previous parliament, and it was not done for you, NDC decided that we'll still bring them to the plenary, despite the fact that you have objected for their approval. Ayariga cited examples, reasons why NDC is convinced that we should now have 20 judges instead of the 14 that were there. Because a very elaborate statement was issued by the then the suspended CJ, indicating the need to have up to 20 judges. Because he's talked about the workload at the place. And we are not even thinking about putting up, a question was made, putting up maybe a branch of the Supreme Court in the northern sector to make the Supreme Court more accessible to all Ghanaians and then the rest. It means that there is a lot of work to be done. So if the current suspended CJ was advocating for more people on it, they saw that at least, though they were against it, they now find reason why there should be more judges, because they have now realized that the need for more judges is there because the workload is there. So to me, refusing that you won't participate in this on the floor of Parliament was something that we already preempted, because in the committee level, you did not approve of their approval. So what will you do when you come to the floor? You definitely not approve. You definitely not vote for their approval. But we on our side needed to approve them so that they can go and start work, because we are in a reset agenda. We want things to be fast. We want cases to be handled very swiftly, so that at least when you take a case to the Supreme Court, it doesn't delay. The suspended Supreme Court Chief Justice said that he needed to set up some teams so that when work comes, they are able to execute it very fast. And we want things to be executed very fast, so that a case doesn't go to the Supreme Court and lie for several months and months and months.
You mean the acting CJ?
The acting CJ.
Yes.
No. The suspended CJ made that recommendation.
Oh, you mean she? Oh, of course,
yes,
of course.
She made that recommendation.
She justified why we needed more.
Yes.
People.
So if she justified that proposal,
yes.
if you gave us a justification
yes.
for impaneling more judges,
yes.
and you are defending her for being suspended,
yes.
it means that you have to defend her proposal.
Yes.
Afenyo has to defend the CJ's proposal
yes.
of elevating the numbers from the 14 to 20.
Right.
Instead of kicking against it. Now that we are doing what she proposed, why are we against it?
Yes.
Look, I think there are more serious things that they should engage themselves into.
Right.
There are more serious things. They need a serious agency to rush and salvage their party.
Yes.
They should concentrate on that, because what they are doing in Parliament, to some of us, they are rather tarnishing the image of their party and weakening their position in the eyes of Ghanaians.
Okay.
Because you can in one breath say you need more judges, and in another breath you say you don't need it.
Okay.
When the one who is now needing more judges, accepting that we need more judges, has shelved his opinion that we didn't need many judges, because your Chief Justice, our then Chief Justice, who is now suspended, gave convincing reasons why we need more judges. Just like a university that is expanding. You need more lecturers. Don't compare us to America. Okay. America has systems that will sieve information or cases that go to the Supreme Court. Ghana, you remember the last time I sat here, I told them, if we're having more cases in the Supreme Court, it is because lawyers like litigation. If there's no litigation, there's no income for them. So they would like to send everything to go to the apex court so that they can keep their clients close to them and make in their money. And we also need enough judges at the Supreme Court to rule very fast, so that the cases will be going and they can send more cases and make more money.
Okay.
That is what I think.
All right.